Preshow. Well. I am super excited to have with us today Justin Moore. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I'm so thrilled to be here.
This is going to be a lot of fun today, y'all. I really hope that you guys can plug in. I hope that you guys I got your notes out. I think we're going to have some fun today. This is just our pre-show chat. We're going to jump in just a second. We're giving everybody some time. You know, this is a masterclass. So we're excited that all of you are here. In fact, let's do a couple of shout outs. Let's see what we got here. Who we have first? On their next podcast was first with the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. This is hilarious. Micah Flemings is with us this morning. Thank you so much for being here. I love it. Tracy is with us this morning as well, sneaks in and puts on the coffee. Come on, you guys are making me hungry this morning already. Thank you guys so much for being here. David Hunt is with us as well, saying what's up to some folks. My moderators are doing a great job. Jim Lawyer, thank you so much for being here today. We're excited to have you. And then we got Jenner. Jenner is in the chat. Thank you so much for being with us today. Several of you are here. I want to give you an opportunity right here, right now, to go ahead and share with folks. Let people know that this is happening, that this is where we are, that masterclass has already begun. And listen, Justin is in the building. He's in the building. We're excited to have him here today, man. Listen, if you haven't already, I definitely want to make sure you get a chance to check out his book, Sponsor Magnet. We're going to plug this a number of times. There's something that I read on this, Justin. This is not part of the masterclass. This is just us chatting it up. But there's something I read here, Justin, that said, man, you put in the book the ARC framework, the rope method, and the do rule. Like, what? Talk to me, bro. Like, what? I went through the cohort. I think I was in cohort number 4. Shout out to cohort number 4, Brand Deal Wizard. But I know what these are, and I know how valuable they are. So talk to me. The mindset around putting those in, that's crazy.
Dude, I don't know, man. I made this decision that I kind of wanted to open source all of this knowledge because my friend Jay Klaus said to me one time, information wants to be free generally. And I never could get that out of my mind, where I felt like if I wanted to have the most impact on people possible, which really is my North Star, then I just need to share freely everything that I know. And that's going to potentially cause some havoc in my business. Generally, there's going to be some collateral damage of like people not signing up for certain courses or things like that. But I have this thesis that like massively opening up the potential people who I can serve will ultimately lead, to positive downstream consequences for the business, like with my coaching program and things like that. But yeah, it was pretty scary, dude, deciding to kind of open source everything.
Wow. And what I hope that, the rest of you are hearing as we, again, just in the pre-show chat here today, as we get ready to dive in, is that, listen, the entire toolbox that I was able to receive throughout our cohort together, it's in the book. Now, of course, you still don't get Justin, being able to coach you and train you week to week to week. That cohort model I know took a lot out of you and your team, but I know personally I wildly benefited from it, and I'm excited about what people are going to get when they get this book. Just looking at that on screen and knowing how those metrics, those tools, those instruments have helped me greatly. I'm just like, man, you guys go run, don't walk, run and go get this book, because it's going to be amazing to have those in your arsenal. It really is a blueprint, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. I see Enenea is here, one of our moderators, and she put a comment up that I want to highlight. There's several of you here. Let me just see if I can go back a little bit. My guy Anthony T. Latson is here. That I love the acronym for his name. This is my experience, my time. I love it. So Anthony, thank you so much for being with us today. Moderators are doing their great work in the chat. 604-852 Cafe, Vancouver, Canada is in the building. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we're excited for what we're going to dive into in here. NNA says, I like that. Information wants to be free. Come on, that's your first note. Go ahead and write that down, y'all. Don't miss that. Information wants to be free. You want to make sure you catch that one as well. Anthony says, I'm watching on YouTube. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So many great people in today. It's going to be a great masterclass. I think so as well, Tracy. It's going to be a great masterclass. I open source information. That's the takeaway. That's the piece that really hit me square between the eyes. I love it. Oh, my good friend, Dr. Wood is on the live as well. And I know we just recently had a conversation, Doc Wood, about monetization. He has a channel that is about some of those diseases like diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, and he's helping people to reverse those and get off medicine. And it is just an absolutely amazing space. And I'm excited to have you here with us today. I really believe that people like you can greatly benefit from having sponsors. So many people that are in my community, that is right where they are. Some of them are new, some of them have been in the game for quite a while, and we're excited to be able to share some stuff. Carl McCoy, thank you so much for being with us as well. Grace and peace to you as well. All right, listen. This is right where we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So we're right at around 8 minutes after the hour. So we're going to dive right in with our first segment. We wanted to debunk some things. We want to debunk some things, and because there's this whole concept, these myths around sponsorships, and that there's a gatekeeper, and you got to wait for a certain amount of hours or watch time to be monetized, that there's these ideas that people exist with, and they share them almost without even thinking about them, because we just kind of feel like that's the normative behavior that we should live under when it comes to monetization, sponsorships, brand deals. And so I wanted to kind of start right there by saying, what are some myths about landing a sponsor, right? Like one example would be, and I hear this often, well, I'm very small channel. I don't have a lot of subscribers. I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram, but I am creating content consistently, right? I do want my audience to hear that piece. Now, I'm not necessarily concerned about your audience size, but you are creating content consistently. And so is it possible to be attractive to potential sponsors, even with a small following? I want to pose that question to you, Justin. I know this is a space that you live in.
Man, 100%. And you're right. This is probably one of the number one questions I get in my DMs and emails and things like that. And you're right. Like perhaps maybe one time you actually tried reaching out to a sponsor and they hit you with the old, oh, we only work with people who have, this number of followers or this large of an audience or whatever. And so you got deflated. It was the long, dark night of the soul. You heard this tiny violins playing in the background. You're like, I suck. Everyone hates me. No one's ever going to want to work with me. And I get that. I totally understand, because early on in our career, 15 years ago, starting to do this, we very much had those moments. But what we ultimately realized was that if what you are pitching to a sponsor is, let's say you are getting, 100 views on average or 300 views on average or whatever platform it is, podcast, YouTube, newsletter, doesn't matter. If the brand looks at your platform, frankly, that's really not going to move the needle for them. Let's just be honest here. Let's be real here. If you're saying, if the pitch is, let me talk about you on my platform, right? And so one of the things I talk about in the book is something that I call the sponsorship continuum, where it's trying to understand where are you at in this journey, because what you pitch has to change depending on where you're at. So let's say that you are in the outset of your journey and you're getting those, hundreds of views or whatever on average. When you, instead of pitching to talk about them on your platform, instead, let's do an audit of the brand's presence on the internet. Let's look at their social media. Let's look at their blog. Let's look at their, LinkedIn presence. Do they have a YouTube channel? Do they have a podcast for themselves? Are they on, Instagram, TikTok, depending on whether it's consumer facing or B2B focused business, let's see. And then you come to them and you say, hey, look, big fan of your brand. I've been using it for XYZ, 3 years. You know what? I actually took a look at your social presence. I actually think you could be telling your brand story in a more compelling way. I would actually love to create some content for you on autopilot for you to repurpose on your platforms, to put on your website, to put on your social media. Hey, maybe you could use this for paid advertising. I will make 5, 10 photos, videos, blog posts, podcast episodes per month for you. It's going to be $5,000 a month. And oh, by the way, go look at my YouTube channel or my podcast, because that serves as my portfolio. Right? And so this is what has to change. Your pitch has to change based on where you're at.
Yes. Your pitch has to change based on where you are. Oh, there's some gold there, y'all. There's some gold there. Audit the brand social footprint and figure out where you are on the sponsorship continuum. Now, I'm not gonna dive deep on the sponsorship continuum, because I feel like that's in our third question, our third segment of our masterclass today. We're gonna talk about that cycle, and I love that you already are prepping us for that as well. But man, these are the things that a lot of us don't associate with this brand process or this sponsorship process. We look at it from a perspective of, can I be attractive to a brand? And we're waiting almost, to be asked out, like a girl in high school wanting to go to the dance, right? It's like, am I attractive enough? Well, one of the ways that you become even more attractive is by having those conversations, is by ensuring that the brand knows your abilities, number one. Number two, that you are intimately aware of what their needs are. And maybe you're highlighting a blind spot that they have not considered before. And so that is super critical in this whole conversation around being able to be attractive. What is attractive is what you've actually shared with them. This is a very different spin on it. I want to see, Justin, if you have just maybe one more myth that we can debunk for folks today, because I really do believe that, when it comes to this whole brand deal and sponsorship scenario, there's just so many misnomers, like misinformation that's being shared all the time. Yeah.
Probably another large one that I hear a lot is like, I am just going to continue to build my platforms, my presence, my content, until I can get on the radar of a manager or an agency or a broker or someone who could just handle all the business stuff for me. This is the goal, is I just want to find someone who will, I can focus on the content stuff and I'll just delegate all of that business stuff to them and I'll give them a cut. I'll give them a 20%, 25% cut. That feels like the holy grail for a lot of people, because they just, frankly, they don't want to put in the work to learn this stuff. And my sincere advice for anyone who believes that there's this like gatekeeper, there's like some elusive person that one day you're going to meet that will be the inflection point for you and your business and your career. The hard truth that I have to give you is that person does not exist. That person is you. It's not someone else, because I have been in this industry for a really long time. And the people, almost without exception, Kirk, the people who had that perspective where they were like, I don't want to handle this business stuff. I'm going to hire someone to do this. Almost without exception, those people are either no longer creators, or they have really, really struggled over the last, decade. However, the people who believed that, it's me. Buck stops with me. This is my business. I'm the CEO. I'm the head of sales. I'm the head of business development here. I'm going to be the one that I'm going to carve out some time in my schedule to jump on a phone call for a partnership opportunity. And I'm going to be the one to kind of interact and engage with this sponsor. Those people, almost without exception, are still doing really well. Those people are thriving. And so if there's anyone here listening who you were just waiting, you were waiting for someone to just put their hand on your shoulder and be like, I got you, I'm going to take it from here. You have to understand that you got to look in the mirror. That person is you.
That person is you. Ooh, let me go to our comments. That person is you. I love this. Dwayne Wood says, hashtag I am the one. I am the one. On the next post says that's a fact at Justin. That's a fact. Bianca says, we've got fire here today. Anthony shared exactly what I wanted to hear. I got a sponsor to offer me some products 2 months after relaunch my channel. Did I take it? No, but it was shocking to see that. Actually, I picked the wrong comment. This is the comment I wanted to showcase. I just purchased the book, Justin. I will binge this weekend. Thanks, my friend.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna use my own soundboard here. Let's go.
Do it.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. I appreciate you, dude.
That is so awesome. Right before we get into our next section, I want to touch on something that you shared. You just lightly dropped it into the atmosphere. And I'm certain that those who are watching live with us right now, 18 of you on the live right now, want to invite you to share with some friends and let people know. And I want to say, Jim, we see your question. I'm going to get to it during the question and answer section. I have it starred right now. I just want to make sure we get a chance to keep in this flow right now. But one of the things you said, Justin, is you talked about what you could do for that brand that you've done an audit for, and you've kind of said to them, hey, here's what I can provide you. And you said, you just probably spitballed it. You said it's going to cost you about $5,000 per month, but this is what I can provide you. And this is one final myth that I want to share with folks today, is that those kinds of numbers are not unrealistic. That's a myth I really want you to walk away with today, that those kinds of numbers are not unrealistic. $5,000 for, a couple of shorts, reels, and some content that they can put on their website, that they can share on their socials, that's going to speak more closely to their particular audience and target market. You're doing the work for them. $5,000 is not unrealistic. And I just wanted to make sure that we get that into this complete session right here.
Well, let's just share why, because
right. Please.
So I ran this influencer marketing agency. So in addition to being a creator along with my wife for many years, I've done hundreds of deals over the last decade plus. But I also ran this influencer marketing agency for about 7 years. And I was on the other side of it now, where I was in these boardrooms with these brands and these advertisers, and they were saying, hey, April and Justin, we don't want to just pay you $5K, $10K or whatever. We want to spend $1 million across 200 creators.
Yes.
What platform should we be on? Like, we don't really know what we're doing. Like, can you help us advise on the strategy? Wow. And so I think that there's this perspective that brands have it all figured out, right? They've got all these people, they've got these big budgets, they've got staff, they've got agencies, they've got all this stuff. They're the experts, right? But a lot of brands and companies, especially like Dr. Wood, let's say, for example, a lot of medical device companies or biopharmaceutical companies, a lot of them have never worked with creators before, ever, right? And so you may be the very first person that they've ever worked with, right? And so if they're comparing hiring you to hiring a production company, which is what they normally do, they have to go out and hire this production company to get actors and actresses to star in this content. Yep. They have to hire people to edit the content. And then when this asset is done, they have to pay Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to run the ad, right? And so if they're comparing you to these other behaviors that they're used to, it oftentimes can be a much more advantageous thing for them. And 5-10K is a drop in the bucket compared to what you can actually bring to the table for them.
Absolutely. And with the added benefit that you actually like their product. Like, you're not faking that part. You've already probably recommended their product without their sponsorship, right? And so there's this organic piece and this ridiculously upscale benefit that brands have with working with us. But I love that you shared yet another myth that we are debunking today, that brands don't have it figured out. Brands do not have it figured out. And they're trying to figure this thing out just as much as we are. In fact, there are brands who are purchasing this book, Sponsor Magnet, as well, because they want to see the other side of this coin and understand what they need to be doing to be attractive to us, who are creators. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Justin, for that. We're gonna go to our next section, and I know we've got a little bit of time here. But we're gonna get some questions here. I see several of you are chiming in, and I love that. But we talked about debunking myths. But the next thing we want to talk about is mindsets. One of the things that was really major when we were in the class with you and in the cohort with you was some of the mindset shifts that you helped us to experience. And in fact, you've already shared one or two here, even just as we were talking about debunking some myths. But you have from your vast experience, both from an influencer marketing agency and as a creator yourself, working with brands. And yeah, we're going to share some receipts here in just a second in terms of some of the brands that you've worked with. If both you and your spouse, your wife, I want to make that clear as well. This is a team effort. But what are some of the must-have mindset things that creators need to employ to be successful in going after a brand deal? And when you share what those are, share what that's also, for each one of them, or maybe you just share one or two for each one, why that mindset is critical in the whole process of being successful, of going after brand deals and going after sponsorships.
There's a lot of different directions I think we could probably take this question, but the first mindset for success that I want to talk about is one of curiosity. I think a lot of people think only of the money. They think of it transactionally, like, how can I find a sponsor just to pay me money? What's the most amount of money I can make? I want to go out there, find these sponsors and things like that. And if you approach sponsorships with that mindset, that's number one, going to rub brands the wrong way, because it's going to feel as though you're just in it for the money and you don't really care about them at all. Right. But it's also not going to serve you well in the long run. And so the way in which this manifests is, if you are, let's say you do have an inbound opportunity, right? Anthony mentioned he got a sponsor 2 months after he relaunched and they reached out. Let's say, for example, you didn't take it, maybe because they were just offering for free. They weren't offering to pay you, whatever. But maybe they were. Maybe, Anthony, you would have said, hey, you know what? These products look really interesting. Are you able to hop on a quick phone call? Because I would love to learn a little bit more about your objectives. Why, I would love to learn about what your product roadmap looks like. I would love to learn some more about your objectives as a brand for 2025. I would love to learn, about what do the competitive headwinds look like for you, supply chain, tariff concerns, like whatever, right? You just start asking questions to these brands on a phone call. And what happens in that scenario? Yeah. Number one, you establish that rapport, right? You establish the rapport where you're curious about them. It's not just about you, right? And they may have thought, okay, well, yeah, we were only going to give people free stuff, but Anthony took the time to really learn about us and what we're trying to accomplish. And so maybe we should allocate some money to Anthony, because it feels like he understands what we're trying to accomplish. And so all of a sudden, magically, they had no money and now they have $5,000 because you were curious.
Boom. Because you were curious. Oh, come on. Be curious. That is such a cheat code. One of the mindset hacks is that you want to be curious. Curiosity. Ask the questions. Understand the lay of the land, the rules of engagement. Align. See if you're aligned. I want to be clear. Sometimes you'll ask these questions and you may find this is probably not the brand for me to work with. Right. But you don't have that information unless you get on the call, unless you ask those questions. Oh, that's so good. And one of the other, side things that you shared there is, of course, money can't just be the end all be all. Okay. I hope that that's clear. I know that everybody, you want this to be a sustainable business for yourselves, but money can't be the only driving factor. One of the things I do in my coaching program is making sure that my clients always have a list of the tools and products and services that they use, because that's your potential brand list. I mean, those are the things you're using already. And if somebody says, hey, how are you organizing yourself? I use Evernote. I'm talking to my good friend Equip Institute, because she does Evernote content on YouTube. And you would recommend Evernote without them even talking to you. So because that's already in your arsenal, that becomes a place where you can actually partner with them as well. Well, any others? Go ahead.
I'm gonna debunk a myth of something you just said. Are you ready for this? I don't know if you were expecting this one.
No, though. I wasn't. Come on. Okay. I'm ready for. I'm waiting. Right. I'm waiting.
Okay, so this is actually another big myth, which is that, or just a mindset for success, I think, was that.
Sure.
When you were trying to think about the types of brands and sponsors that you could potentially partner with, it's not about the brands that you authentically love and use. That's actually table stakes. See, if you were to reach out to a brand and be like, I love Evernote, I've been using it, I do all these tutorials about it, XYZ, that is what literally every single person who reaches out to them says. That is not relevant. They don't care about you and your affinity. You know what they do care about? They care about, does your audience have an affinity for their brand? And oftentimes you might not actually know that answer. So here's the exercise that everyone listening or watching needs to do. So it's not about you. It's not about, oh, let me just think about the short list of the brands and tools and software programs that I love and use. It's not about you. I need to learn more about the psychographics of my audience. Yeah, I've got the demographics on YouTube or Instagram, and I know the sexes and the geographies and the ages, and yeah, I know that stuff, and that's kind of helpful. But what's really helpful is, you know what? I need to understand what is keeping my audience up at night. What problems do they have? Are they married? Do they have kids? What type of jobs do they have? What brands and products and services are they using and loving or interested in right now? You need to be surveying them and asking these questions. If you have a newsletter, you send out a Google form or something, or a type form, or on your YouTube community tab, or Instagram stories, whatever your platform is, you need to be asking these questions. And you can do this in a very simple way. You say, hey, I'm planning out my 2025 content calendar or strategy, and I want to learn more about you. I want to make sure that it serves you. Can you answer this like very quick survey? And then what's going to happen, Kirk? Let's say here, let's do a quick example here. Let's say that you did this survey, right?
Yep.
And 30% of these people respond to you, and you find out that these people have a brick and mortar store. Here you were thinking that everyone who followed you has like an online business scenario, like an online entrepreneur, right? And then you realize like, wow, I didn't realize that I have this huge segment of my audience that they're following me because they want to grow their foot traffic into their franchise, stores or something like that, right? And so here you never would have thought like, oh, I should go out there and maybe let's say they say to you like, oh, a big issue that we're having is like recruiting. Like labor, that like labor shortages, like it's hard to retain employees. And so here you think, man, maybe I should go out there and partner with like some, recruiting agency or firm or something that helps specialize in helping business owners recruit. That never would have been a partner or a brand that you would have thought to like go after. But again, it's not about you. It's about solving a problem for your audience and your customers. And so this is a huge mindset shift for success, is realizing that it's not about you at all.
Oh my word. I love that. It is not about you. Wow. There's a lot of stuff jumping in the chat right now. I'm going to see if we can grab a couple of these comments. But man, that is. I'm so glad that you took time to reframe that. That you took time to reframe that. Tracy says the power of questions. Asking questions is very important. Denny Nea says psychographics. Come on. I love that.
Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. David says curiosity does not only kill the cat, it allows you to stand out to the brand and the psychographics of the brand and my audience. Oh man, I think people are taking notes, y'all. I think they're taking notes. This is on their next podcast says 2K lesson learned. Listen, there's a lot here for us to be able to sink our teeth into, and we're just at the halfway mark right now. I really want people to kind of let that thing settle and solidify. I mean, in fact, I've shared with you I'm saying to the audience now, I've shared with you in the promo video for today's masterclass, in the lead up for some of the lives that we did this week, in the lead up for today's actual show and masterclass. I've shared with you that I'm pointing the wrong way. This is my brand deal coach. Right? This is the guy that I go to. Right? This is the guy. And so I think it's just so appropriate for me to share something and him say, no, you're actually wrong, because that's how coaching goes. No, I wanted to touch on that because some people are like,
my
dang.
sincere apologies.
No apologies necessary. I want people to see this, because normally I'm in the other seat where I'm saying to somebody, actually, I disagree. But I'm so glad that happened so organically right here. This is the reason why I'm such a big proponent of having somebody in your corner who is an expert in that particular vertical and can give you insight and perspective and wisdom. I never looked at it that way. And that is definitely something I have made a note of myself. Not about the brands you love and use. Does your audience have affinity for that brand? What are your audience's psychographics, and how can you get ahead of these conversations by putting out material to your audience even now, and giving them an opportunity to help you create better content, but for you to have a better map of who they are and what keeps them up at night and what problems are they struggling with, so that you can serve them better. Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
Think about how much better of a pitch that is now too. When you reach out to the brand, you're not being like, I love your brand, I've used it for 3 years. You're saying, I've got all these people have just responded saying they're having an active issue with the thing that your product solves.
Right.
Would you love to expose your brand to my full audience? And they'd be like, oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah.
Right. So you've done the work for them. It's not a guesswork. Yeah. It's not a guesswork of like, if we pay Kirk $5,000, is this really going to be a good ROI for us? Like, no, you've done the work. You got the data to show them.
Oh man, that's so good. It's just so good. There's no other way to say it. It's so good. I see several of your comments coming in the chat as well. And a recurring refrain that we chat about here on the channel, of course, is value proposition and target audience, and knowing your target audience, knowing that profile. I love how you said that. Are they married? Are they not married? How many kids do they have? Understanding those things gives you insight and perspective on who they are so that you can serve them better. I do want to get to this phrase that you used earlier, the sponsorship continuum. Sponsorship continuum. I want to get to that because I do want to talk through, this whole thing of the cycle, right? The creator sponsor cycle. And of course, I love your framing of it better, which is the sponsorship continuum, because I think some people feel like there's this linear thing that happens with a sponsor / creator or brand deal and creator. But the phrasing you use in terms of continuum and of course with cycle, it lends to the idea that it's cyclical. So talk to us, walk us through what that basic creator / sponsorship continuum is as we dive into this next section.
Yeah. So I actually have two different frameworks here. I've got the continuum, which is like understanding who to pitch and what to pitch based on kind of the size that you're at in terms of the scale of your audience and your reach and things like that. When it comes to actually the cycle of collaborating with a brand and ensuring that it's kind of an ongoing process versus linear, I actually have another framework for this called the sponsorship wheel. And this is like actually my core 8-step framework that I basically the system that I teach people to ensure that your sponsorships, that you have a process that you're following when you collaborate. So I'll just quickly go through the 8 steps and we can potentially dive into a few of them. But Step 1 is pitch. Step 2 is negotiate. Step 3 is contract. Step 4 is concept. Step 5 is produce. Step 6 is feedback. Step 7 is publish. And step 8 is analyze. And then you basically, if you kind of see this visual, you go back to step 1. Once you get to step 8, you do this analysis, then all of a sudden, here we go. You're pitching the brand again on the next collaboration campaign. And so I think this has been a game changer for a lot of creators, because you're right. A lot of people feel as though, oh man, I worked with this sponsor, it went great, but then they never reached back out to me. I guess they weren't happy with my performance. And in fact, maybe we could dig into the step 8, which is the analysis actually, because I think that this is a step that a lot of people are scared of, frankly, Kirk, which is that most people, when they collaborate with a brand or a sponsor, they're terrified of at the end asking, hey, how did it go? They're really worried that the brand will say, oh, thanks for asking. It went terribly. We hate you now. You suck. Never talk to us again. Right? This is in their mind, the narrative that they built up, that they're, oh, there's no way, this number of people signed up, or this number of people bought the product, or like, there's just no way. So I'm just not going to ask. I'm going to stick my head in the sand. I'm going to invoice them. I'm going to get my money. And then if they think it went well, they'll reach back out to me. This is the narrative that people have in their head. And so there's this Nelson Mandela quote that I love, that, he said, I never lose. I either win or learn. And so when you ask a brand, how did it go? There's only 2 positive outcomes from that. Either they say it went great, and then you're not going to have any hesitation pitching them again, right? Because you're like, oh, great, it went awesome. Let's work together again on this next idea. But more likely, they're probably going to say something like, it just went okay. Right. It was kind of average. We hope that maybe there was going to be a little bit more sales or more views or whatever. It just went okay. And so now's your opportunity to say, oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I have a few suspicions for why I think that might be. But do you have any suspicions for why you think that happened? And that opens up this beautiful conversation where now it's no longer just about the quantitative metrics, right? That they're tracking the views and the clicks and the downloads and the sales and all that. Yeah. But it's also about the qualitative stuff. So let's say, for example, that you did a newsletter sponsorship or a podcast sponsorship or whatever. Yeah. And it's not a partnership where there's any sort of public facing engagement, right? It's not a YouTube video or an Instagram post or something. And the brand is not seeing the comments of people's reactions to the sponsorship. But when you did this newsletter sponsorship, you actually got people replying and you're like, oh, this is cool. I never heard about this tool. Can you share some more information about this? I have a newsletter and I get replies to that all the time when I have sponsors. And a lot of times, sometimes, Kirk, those are not positive replies. It's someone saying oh, I tried this tool, a year ago and it sucks. I'm never trying it again. Or oh, it sucks for the following reasons or whatever.
Yep.
The brand is not seeing that feedback, because that's private feedback that you're receiving.
That you're getting.
It is your job to circle that to the brand, even if it's negative feedback. Because if this has happened countless times, man, where I've circled feedback back to the brand and, someone said, oh, that feature sucks. I tried it a year ago. And the brand was like, oh, well, we actually completely overhauled that feature 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it seems like people don't know that. So let's actually make that the next focus of the next partnership. Say, oh, actually, we overhauled it. We reformulated it. You need to give it another shot because of XYZ reason. So if you never give the brand the opportunity to educate you about what's going on in their internal development, product roadmap or whatever, you miss that opportunity to collaborate again.
My goodness. And then you go directly back to the step one, which is pitch. And I love this. Y'all listen. If you haven't already, go get the book. The book is going to save you a lot of time. It's got so much rich instruments and principles, practices. This wheel is in the book as well, I'm assuming, Justin?
Yep.
Yeah. And some of the other things that we're talking about here, it's in the book as well. But I think there's just so much value that we've been able to kind of touch on here today. I see several comments coming in as well. I typed the 8 steps into the chat. I hope that you guys got a chance to see that. We had 24 people on the live with us today. I see Tracy says, "Oh wow, I win or learn." That's one of my top quotes as well. It's definitely top 10 from Nelson Mandela. I never lose. I either win or learn. Thank you for sharing that as well today. Man, that is good. I'm super excited about where we are and how things are moving, and we're moving along quite nicely. Now, I do want to give people, first, there's a lot of people that are watching today, whether live or on replay, and they're in a number of different categories, and some of those categories we've hit on already. Maybe they had some myths that they needed debunked. Maybe they had some mindsets that weren't serving them well, that they needed to replace, and they didn't even recognize that there are some things that they needed to employ when it comes on to this whole brand deal thing. But there is another category of people who are skeptical. They're skeptical because nobody's ever pulled back the veil and shared with them what actually happens. What is an actual example or case study, and with not just with results for the brand in terms of numbers for them, but also from a financial standpoint. And I've worked with you long enough to know you don't mind, kind of getting into the guts and sharing some of the gory details, because I know that has radical impact on folks when they recognize whoa, as we said earlier, that 5,000 isn't pie in the sky. That's a very realistic number. But we're excited that we've got Justin with us today. And of course, in this section, we're talking about, a kind of a case study and sharing, an example. This is where we also want to make sure you get a chance to share some of the receipts. I mean, I know some of the brands that you and your lovely wife have worked with, and your kids for that matter. these are household names that we all say and use on a regular basis. So take some time and just share with us some of that experience, and then of course walk us through one example if you can.
This seems like a crazy statement to make, but if you named a consumer brand, we've probably collaborated with them at some point over the last 15 years. Like literally, we've pretty much collaborated with pretty much any household name, food, we've done a lot of travel and hospitality deals, consumer electronics, you name it. We've done a deal with them, which is kind of wild.
It's kind of wild.
One thing, I think there's two things I want to talk about. I want to give you a real concrete example of a partnership that one of my longest running coaching clients, his name is Paul Jameson, has done, because I think that'll be really, really interesting for people. But the first thing I want to talk about is the skepticism thing that you mentioned, which is this people, maybe they've been watching and they're curious. They tuned into this masterclass and they're like, I'm not doing this. Like, I really don't want to be doing sponsorships because I'm selling my own stuff, right? I'm doing coaching. I have a course. I have a book. I have speaking. Like, I'm just selling my own stuff. And why would I ever want to work with sponsors? That doesn't seem very palatable. Let me shift your mind for a second here. So I'm actually working on this as a talk. I'm going to be giving a keynote about this soon. And it's something that I call the collaboration paradox, which is that for most creative people, it's a pretty normal thing to solicit feedback on your work, on your art. You say, hey, will you read this first draft of this chapter? Or will you watch the first 2 minutes of this video? Give me some feedback on this YouTube thumbnail. Like, it's very normal to drop that in Discord or in a group text thread, or to someone who you trust, right? Like, ask for advice. Like, hey, how can I make this better? My creative work. But somehow, when it comes to actually making money, to monetizing this art, right? To actually ensuring how we can pay for this stuff, right? To have the financial stamina to continue to make great art, somehow we feel like we have to do this alone. I can't ask anyone. I just got to figure out this by myself. I can't ask for help. Like, I just got to do this on my own. And my suggestion is that, what if you took that same collaborative mindset when it comes to soliciting feedback on your art and applied that to the financial stuff? What would it look like for you to actually extend your hand to a partner, a brand, a company to bring this to life? Maybe you've always wanted to bring this creative vision of something to life and you never knew how you were going to do it. What would it look like for you to partner with a brand or a company to actually do that? And you're also helping them accomplish a business objective. It's not just about you. It's about, hey, how can we actually partner up to make this thing so much larger than it actually is? And yes, that means that, yes, you're going to cede a bit of creative, control, creative latitude to the brand because it's a collaboration. But what would you rather have happen? This thing to never exist, or for it to happen, to exist, for you to launch it? And so I actually think that for anyone listening, what would that look like in your business if you were to be open-minded and curious, right, about how you could actually bring this to life? I think it could be potentially a game changer. And so now I want to share this example.
That is absolutely awesome.
So let me share this example. Yeah, of course. I want to share this example of a collaboration that Paul did. So Paul runs a podcast called the Green Industry Podcast, and you're going to love this, Kirk. So he teaches lawn care professionals how to grow their business. Lawn care professionals. He's getting 150,000 downloads a month on his podcast. Okay. So this is a very, very niche creator, right? Someone who has a very niche business, but he is absolutely crushing it with brand partnerships, because if you think of the tractor companies, the lawn mowers, the hedge trimmers, those companies who are trying to speak to the professional business owner who is out there servicing people's lawns and yards, how are they going to market? Look, where are they going to spend this money? They're thinking, okay, maybe TV ads. We're not targeting consumers. We're targeting the professional contractor, essentially, right? They've got these millions of dollars to spend, and they're thinking, how are we going to target these people? And so they look at someone like Paul, who is kind of the key opinion leader, the luminary of their industry, and they're thinking, let's roll out the red carpet to this dude, because man, these guys who run these businesses, they've got their AirPods in and they're on their mowers 8 hours a day and they're listening to Paul. Come on. Right? And so So Paul, of course, has done a lot of social media focused partnership, podcast ad, reads and, the social media integrations and things like that. But one of his most lucrative deals that he ever did was recently with John Deere tractor. And John Deere came to Paul and they said, Paul, we've loved collaborating in the past. They got on a phone call and Paul asked these curious questions, right? Tell me about what you're trying to accomplish this year, all this stuff. And they said, yeah, Paul, it's been great doing this social media stuff, but thanks for asking what we care about. You know what we care about this year? The largest trade show of our industry is happening in October. It's called Equip, and everyone's going to be there. All the other competitors, all the other brands, all the people in our industry who matter, all the press, all the photographers, all the videographers, everyone's going to be there. Would you be willing to podcast live in our booth for the entire conference, all 3 days?
Wow.
You can invite all your friends to come on and record, interview some people from our marketing team, and we'll have we'll have the logo of John Deere in the background of all these videos. And oh, by the way, we're going to back up a dump truck full of money and drop it on your driveway. What do you say? Are you interested in this? And Paul said, oh yeah, sure. This sounds great. Right. And so as a case study, the reason I share this example is does that sound like a normal brand deal or a normal sponsorship? No, not at all. It doesn't at all, right? And so it's this mindset. So again, we talked about the mindset of curiosity. The other major mindset I think is important here is one of flexibility. It's one of being nimble. It's about, I had this idea of what I thought the sponsorship was going to be, but then I had a conversation with the brand and they said something entirely different. And I said, okay, sounds great. Let's do this thing. And he said, let's pivot to this thing over here because I'm totally willing to go to this trade show. That sounds great. I didn't even know that's something you cared about, but let's talk about that instead.
Man, that is absolutely, I can attest, much smaller scale, but I definitely have had experiences where you get in there with the brand and they're like, actually, no, we just want this. And you're like, oh, I can do that in my mind. I'm saying I can do that in my sleep. And they're like, yeah, that's all we want. If you can provide that, we're good to go. And I'm just excited to hear that on that much, much larger scale. You gotta be nimble, gotta be flexible. Don't just go in so rigid, I'm gonna try and get them to work with this particular plan, especially if you, in your question asking, you recognize that there's this other thing that has wild opportunities and potential to have impact for both you and the brand. Oh my word, explore that. That is exciting, man. That is exciting. I am actually blown away. I can't believe we're already at 10:49, getting ready to close it out for our masterclass today. But what an awesome case study. Let us know in the chat. What do you think? Well, I mean, is that something you had ever considered before, that a brand would be like, actually, I just want you to come to this particular event and podcast out of our booth? And I can imagine, what that meant for Paul and for his channel.
Put the full screen on me for a second, bro.
Here we go. Back to you.
We're talking about Paul, right? Okay, so I have right here in the book is Paul's testimonial. Okay. Golly. And Paul's testimonial says, Justin Moore and his team helped me land a 6-figure sponsorship and showed me how to position myself as the perfect partner for big brands. They made navigating sponsorships a game changer for my business. So I'm not making this up. This is Paul's actual testimonial for how we've helped him. Wow. And there's lots of other, in fact, let me give you another one. Anyone know Ali Abdaal, the gigantic YouTuber, best-selling author? Ali Abdaal says, we have had an almost 2x increase in the sponsorship revenue we've made to the tune of 200,000 pounds. We owe a lot of money to Justin and his team for all the value he's added to our business. Wow. So I'm not making this stuff up. This is again, I know you were very kind to ask me for some case studies for my wife and I. Of course, my wife and I have had a lot of success over the years, but I am much more comfortable and just much more excited about pointing the spotlight on other people.
I hear that.
Totally because agree. It's just that's what I care about, is it's not really about me. It's success and money and success. All that stuff is a byproduct of service. That's what I really believe. And so I'd much rather point the spotlight on other people.
Man, this is a philosophy we both share, and I think it is going to serve you well. You talked about this idea, this concept of putting all of this value into this book, and the book, will that work well for your business? I think it will. I absolutely believe it will. I think you putting that information out there is definitely going to come back to you in ridiculous, crazy ways. I want to get a couple of comments, and then I do want us to be able to share some Q&A, man. Listen, this is the Sponsor Magnet Masterclass. We are right at about 10 minutes left. And so listen, I know I have one question already locked and loaded. So if you have questions, however, I want you to get your questions into the chat. Get your questions into the chat. Let's go back to our comment section here. Justin's on. We're listen. Somebody else just said David Hunt just says, bought the book. Where do I sign?
Man, listen, David, thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man.
Book bought. And Bianca says, yo, the testimonials do not lie. And those
I'll just to clarify, Bianca's on my team. She's just my hype woman here in the chat today.
Listen, I love that. But Bianca, you're doing the good work. Yeah. And I love that you're here. And Inez is part of my team, and she's one of my moderators, but she is absolutely eating this thing up. Now, I just hope Jim is still here. But Jim had a question earlier. I started, and I'm just kind of scrolling through the chat here. Can you read that question for us real quick, Justin? And I'm going to see if I can find any others.
Yeah. So Jim Lawyer says, how about for a very niche market? What is the best way to get sponsors from outside that market? So again, let's go back to the whole psychographic thing here, Jim. We need to learn about our audience. We need to understand what are the types of brands and products and services that, even in our niche market, what are the types of brands that would be a good fit to actually reach out to and help them understand. Look, a lot of brands are, they may have never thought of advertising to your niche market. And okay, let me share. There's a real example of that. So I was just on a coaching call with someone who teaches people how to raise goats. They have a whole business around raising goats on their farm. Okay. And they have a huge audience, right? Like, well, relatively speaking, tens of thousands of people, which is like pretty huge for that niche, right?
That's huge. Yeah.
And we were talking about the types of brands that she could potentially target for her goat raising business. And we were talking about this psychographic question, and one of the insights that we speculated was like, there's probably a lot of people who are homeschooling their kids who are following her, right? Because they're homesteaders, right? They have farms and things like that. So a lot of homeschooling families, right? And so I said, probably, obviously we need to do the survey to like suss out the actual raw data, but probably a good partnership for her would be like ABC Mouse, which is a reading tool.
Yeah.
And
which is totally outside of her,
totally outside of like goat raising, right? Yeah. But and so if she's going to go to this company and talk about this, they may think like, wow, we never would have thought to like go after, someone who has this business, but like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. She's got a lot of people who are homeschooling their kids, and our product is perfect for that. But again, like you never would have thought of that just off the top of your head without understanding more about your audience.
Wow. Yeah. Now there's so many different pieces. And Jim, I hope that you're around. But Jim is one of our regulars. And even if he did have to go, because I know it's in the middle of the workday, if he had to go, he's going to come back and check this out later, and he's going to catch that comment. But man, there are options out there for us to be able to explore when it comes on to getting brand deals outside of your target market. This is a comment from Dwayne Wood. He says, I've been working on answering questions, which has been a game changer, right? Now the 1-2 punch, also ask questions. I've been working on answering questions. Now I'm going to be asking questions. I love that. Dwayne Wood. Thank you for being with us today. Always good to have some of our regulars here. Tracy, one of my mods and a member on the channel. You can see that yellow dot. She says, I have only a couple of days ago asked my audience what questions they have. I know it's audience, not sponsors, but immediate fodder for 20 videos. And I think, she said this before we talked about the whole concept of going and getting the psychographics of your audience. And so this is exactly right in the same lane, Tracy, of what we were talking about. So it isn't yes, ask questions of the sponsor when you sit down with them, when you have the opportunity to meet with them, but first, have this conversation with your audience so you can understand what their pain points are, and you have a better metric for being able to have that conversation with potential brands. I think that's absolutely awesome, and I say kudos to you. I see a couple other comments. If you want to jump in, just jump right in, man. I
have one other thing that I wanted to share about Jim's question about finding sponsors for kind of a niche market or niche audience. I think a lot of times, a tendency that creators or influencers or business owners have, especially when you're in a more traditional industry.
Jim is still here. Jim is still
perfect.
here.
Jim's here. Awesome. Yeah. So I've run across this where, like, especially if you're in a more niche industry, where brands are not accustomed to collaborating with people, sometimes we have a tendency to condescend. We say, hey, why are you advertising in that prehistoric trade magazine that's costing you $7,000 per issue to run an ad in that? Why are you doing that? You should be running ads on social media. You should be hiring creators. This is the new wave. This is what you should be doing. And the person that you're saying this to may have been the person to make that decision to buy the ad in that magazine. And so you're basically calling them stupid. You're like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you doing that? And so they think they're very turned off because they're like, okay, well, this is just the way we've always done things here. And you seem like you're hot stuff. And like, no thanks, we're not interested. No thanks. And so a much better like approach or disposition to have when you're having these conversations with sponsors who may be a bit skeptical or just inexperienced is like, look, you don't need to change anything you're doing. Like, just keep doing things the way you're doing. That's great. But let's augment your current strategy by trying this other new thing, social media or influencer marketing or whatever. So a lot of it comes down to how you approach the conversation.
Ah, man, there's so many different strategies. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about having you on today, Justin, is because I knew, having gone through the cohort, having gone through a ton of your content, and of course being on your mailing list, I know that this was the best way to put you in front of the audience. If I just came on and said, hey guys, you got to check out this book, that'd have been great. That'd have been good. I mean, my audience knows me, they like me, they trust me, but I knew that them hearing from you being on the screen today, it's a whole cheat code in and of itself. Not just so for the book. I want people to recognize the ridiculous resource that is Justin Moore. And I wanted them to hear for themselves the heart that you have for seeing other people win. One of the things that you will see if you go to that website, right, the Sponsor Magnet, or if you go to Brand Deal Wizard, you're going to see that this is his thing. This is his spiel. He wants to see creators land those deals and have what they do and love be sustainable, because they have a partner, they have a sponsor, they have a brand that they are working alongside that is funding their dream. And so there's so many people on this list that are scrolling by right now that are personal friends, and these are people who are killing the game. I see Nikki Saunders right there as well, somebody I absolutely adore and look up to. And it's just this is why I wanted to make sure that you got a chance to come through and hang out with us today. And that is kind of where we want to land, right? We only got about a minute or two left. I wanted to ask you, why write this book? Why? I know that, and I know you have this heart for creators and helping them land these deals. So just kind of talk about that whole thing and that impetus. Why that drive? Give us a little bit of insight of where that's concerned.
Bro, this is going to sound super cheesy and existential, but I'm going to be 40 and not that long. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I've just been in my feels thinking lately about, like, what will my time on this planet have been for?
Wow.
And
impact.
The thing that I instantly thought of was just like, what do I want my legacy to be?
Come on.
And yeah, I've made thousands of posts on social media over the last 15 years. But what would be the best way to distill everything that I know into a format that would be easily giftable, easily recommendable, easy for people to refer and be like, hey, boom, here's everything I know about this subject so that I can have the best chance possible of educating the next generation of creators. This really is what has been my North Star. And so writing the book, it was a huge undertaking, dude. And just so much doubt and uncertainty, even myself, imposter syndrome. I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. Like, is this really something I'm going to do? But I just felt so drawn to like this mission or this duty that I felt to the next generation that I had to do it. So, yeah, man, it's wild to be on the other side of it, honestly, because there was, for so long, it was just like, man, am I really going to do this? And so, yeah. So it's been really humbling hearing how impactful it's been to people. A ton of people have already finished the book already and just like have sent me testimonials. In fact, someone left an Amazon review the other day that said, I got a $3,000 partnership one day after reading the book. Wow. Because I reached out, I pitched it, and the brand paid me 4 days after I finished the book. And so it was like, it's just like crazy seeing the impact that it's had. So it's really humbling.
But this is the reason why we wanted to land here, because of that. There isn't a hubris. There isn't a look at me. This comes from a space that says this information can help. And like you started me with, information wants to be free. And what kind of legacy will I leave if I'm able to, capture everything I know about this particular topic, put it in a book and make it accessible to those who desperately need it. So many people, we talk about creating content in video form, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, even LinkedIn, because it allows us, enables us to serve at scale. But a book, it's quite literally, it can be put into so many different hands. People who aren't going to necessarily sign up for your cohort or your coaching, you can put this information into their hands and they can actually get to the next level. I think it's such an awesome opportunity. And I wish you all success with this thing. I am actually going to be gifting my members, the members of the Workers Warehouse community, a copy of the book. So David Hunt, no, I'm going to be doing that. Absolutely. We have, I don't even want to say the number of members, but we have a number of members, and we have our monthly meetup at noon. So in about an hour. And so I'll be sharing that with them there. I wanted to make sure that I say that because several of them are watching right now and I don't want them to buy the book because I'm going to be gifting them the book. Several of them are going to buy it anyway. They did that this last time when we had Junaid Ahmed on with the Home Studio Mastery. They bought the book, then I gifted them the book, and then they shared it with somebody else. And I'm fine with that too. But I wanted to just make sure that they know that's something that we're going to do because I believe in what you're doing. I as I mentioned before, I said this several times. This is my coach. There's so much that I've learned about brand deals and sponsorships from Justin, and I'm super excited to be able to bring you in today and to share that with my community as well. So we're super excited about that. I see somebody was asking about getting it in Canada, but I think she figured it out. Yeah, she says, where can I get the book in Canada? And she says, oh, I got it. I see it. So I think she figured it out. And I'm glad that she did. Thank you so much for being with us today. For those of us who create content on languages that are not popular, what's the best way to attract brands to partner with? Oh, man, we snuck one in right as we're getting ready to close out. What do you think, Justin? Do we have time to answer this?
All right, let me do a rapid fire answer for you. Sure. I actually work with a lot of creators who are in different countries and have international audiences and things like that. And basically the systems and the processes and the frameworks that I teach are universal regardless of where you live and where your audience is. But you do have to prepare yourself for more education. More education is going to be required for those brands because influencer marketing will just not have been, it's just not something that a lot of brands and companies have done internationally. It's very popular in US, Canada, UK, Australia, et cetera. But for other geographies, it's just going to require a bit more time for you to get on a phone call, get on a Zoom call, whatever, walk them through the process. The dollar values may not be as large just because it's more nascent in where you live, but it absolutely will still work.
Yeah. This is Johnny E from the Ecamm community. He has a Haitian Creole channel that is serving that community very well, and we're super excited about that. Super excited about that. I think that was somebody behind something in my room.
That was me. I thought I put my phone on DND.
It's all good. We're over our time anyway, and I just want to say a word of thanks to you, man. I cannot thank you enough for coming through and hanging out with us today. This has been wildly beneficial for my community. Super excited that we have this as a resource for people to be able to see here on the channel. And one thing that we usually do, we usually take the masterclass down after 24 hours. It's available for members on YouTube and members in the Workers Warehouse, but I'm actually going to leave this one up because I do want people to see this resource. I'm going to leave it up forever. I want people to see this resource. I want people to have access to this resource. I want people to understand what this whole process can be and kind of open their minds to several things. There's a very selfish reason why I'm going to leave it up as well. I have some coaching clients that I want to be able to watch this video because I want to use this as a resource. So I'm going to leave it up. But I'm so excited that we were able to chat today and share this with the audience and hopefully shift some perspectives and get some people paid, man. I mean, and I know money's not the whole end all be all, but the truth of the matter is the money will make what you're doing sustainable in terms of your content. So we're excited about that today. Thank you for all that you are doing, man.
Thank you awesome. For having me on honestly, thank you for having me. This was such a blast. And I super appreciate the time to chat today. And yeah, if anyone, if this conversation has tickled your brain at all about the prospect of sponsorships, you can go to sponsormagnet.com to pick up the book.
Sponsormagnet.com, pick up the book. I see my moderators are in the chat. I hope that you guys can grab that link and put it in the chat. I will put it as a first comment as the video becomes available for replay. And we'll also put it in the description. I think it's already in the description, so you can probably grab it there. But definitely sponsormagnet.com, hit that thing up. And listen, you can follow Justin Moore on pretty much everywhere, right? So on some platforms, I think it's Creator Wizard or Brand Deal Wizard. But I'm excited, man. This is a great resource for everybody today. I know several had to chime out, but this was absolutely phenomenal. So fam, listen, thank you for your time and attention today. This has been dope. Justin, hang on for just a second as we get ready to close things out here online. Man, the myth that we wanted to debunk, I think we did. The mindset shifts that we wanted to share, I think we shared those. There are some other that whole sponsorship cycle, the 8-step wheel that we shared there: pitch, negotiate, contract, concept, produce, feedback, publish, analyze. We shared that as well today in today's masterclass. And then of course, lastly, we shared some receipts, as they say. What has been the impact on real people? And I love that he opened up the book and shared some of those testimonials from real people that we know, people that we follow, people that we love and trust, because that really helps us to see this is not pie in the sky. This is not some end run around. This is not some cheat code. This is showing us a blueprint of what's possible if we are willing to do the work. And that's what I'm always going to land on, family. There is nothing that's worth having that's not worth working towards. And so you're going to actually have to do the work. I leave you with one of the things that he shared today. There's no one coming. There's no Superman in the cape. There's no person that you're going to outsource this work to. You are the person. You are the person you have been waiting for. We are the people that we have been waiting for. We get to, not have to, but we get to share what we have in terms of value with the world. And we get to interface and interact with brands in a way that allows them to partner with us and fund some of the things that we're doing, because there's this mutually beneficial relationship. Family, it's your boy Kirk Nugent, the Geek Speaker Preacher, excited for all that we've been able to do today. We'll see you around these internet streets or in the next video. Grace and peace, fam.